Okay, now that we've got our service registered, we've set up our profiles. Let's see now how we can use this. So we're going to do this in our user controller. And inside here, we've got two methods that return app users. Because we've registered AutoMapper as a service, we can inject it. Now, AutoMapper comes with an interface that we can use, and we're going to inject iMapper into our user's controller, and I'll just call it Mapper. And then when it comes to what we're returning, instead of returning an IEnumerable of app user, we're going to return an IEnumerable of member DTO. And then we'll get our users from the repository as per normal, but we'll create a variable called users to return, and we'll set this equal to mapper, and we're going to tell it what we want to map, and then we tell it what we want to map into. Now we want to map our users into a member DTO or a list of member DTOs. So we specify IEnumerable, and then we specify member DTO, and then we give it the objects that we want it to map. And in that case, that's going to be our users. And then instead of returning the users, we specify that we're going to return the users to return. And then we just do something very similar for the second method in here. So I'll swap app user for member DTO. And then instead of returning the user, we'll return mapper.map. And we're going to map into the member DTO and pass the user object as the thing it's going to map from. So let's go and take a look at our terminal, because no doubt the app wants to restart again, because hot reload, I think it should be renamed to hot not reload, because that's the impact it has on an API type of project. I'm sure that the other types of project it works better for, but not this one. Anyway, let's go take a look. So previously we had an error about a possible object cycle was detected, and let's see if we've solved that problem. And sure we have. So we've got the ID. The username was mapped correctly, even though it's in a different casing, and we're returning that as a lowercase username. We've got the age, and that means that the getAge method was called as it should do, or as we'd expect it to based on what I was talking about in the previous lesson. The photo URL is null, and I was expecting that because AutoMapper can't figure out everything, and we do need to tell it how to get that photo URL and populate that. We'll take a look at that in the next lesson. Then we've got our other properties, known as, created, etc. All of that looks good. And then we've got our photos collection with the ID, the URL, and the isMain property set to true. So that one works fine. Just one thing to correct there, which is the photo URL. And if we take a look at the get users and send this one, then same thing again, looks good. Everything looks good apart from the photo URL, but we've got all of our different elements that we want in our member DTO. And we're shaping the data now how we want it as well. We don't have any of that password nonsense inside here. That's gone, and we're just returning the properties that we want to return from our API methods. But in the next lesson, we'll take a look at how we can configure AutoMapper, because we do want to populate the photo URL with the user's main image, and we'll take a look at that next.